All right.
Welcome, everyone, to our monthly GLE. This time we are diving deep into records review. We'll be looking at how it reflects quality in your program. Today, Team Wolfpack will be presenting. We are comprised of Amanda, Cheryl, who is not here today, Christina, Khalida, Nadir, Rebecca, and myself, C. Our Bright Spark mission is to nurture and to sustain child-centered, anti-racist early learning communities. Here's our land acknowledgement for today. We acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional and ancestral lands of the Coast Salish people, including the Duwamish, the Suquamish, Muckleshoot, Puyallup, Nisqually, and the Tulalip tribes, who have stewarded this land and these waters since time immemorial. These nations have deep and enduring relationships with this region, and they continue to thrive as sovereign people, carrying forward their cultures, languages, and traditions. We honor their ongoing presence and resilience, and we recognize the historical and present day impacts of colonization, displacement, and injustice. We express our gratitude for the opportunity to live, to work, and to learn on this land. And we commit to showing respect, building relationships, and supporting Indigenous community through our words, our actions, and our advocacy.
All right. So we're going to start by talking about continuous quality improvement, which is really at the heart of what Early Achievers is all about. This first piece is taken from the Early Achievers Operating Guidelines, and it says that continuous quality improvement, or CQI, refers to the ongoing process of learning about strengths and opportunities for growth using multiple sources of information, an intentional commitment to quality improvement practices, such as creating a plan with goals, timelines, and action steps, testing and implementing solutions, and evaluating the results and revising the plan. Now, the records review tool offers several ways for programs to improve quality through various program policies and procedures. It offers programs a chance to reflect on their practices and how they could add more to positively impact children and families. Adding some of these new policies and procedures offers a chance to also get the recognition for the quality that you have implemented.
All right, so now we're going to talk about ways to get started. Getting started with anything is oftentimes the hardest part of beginning something new. Even though the records review process encompasses many areas of quality, you do not have to complete the process all at once. Here are some helpful tips to make this task manageable for you as you begin to familiarize yourself with what is needed. So the first tip is to do a records review overview with your coach when you begin the Early Achievers journey. Ask your coach for a walkthrough of the records review. This will allow you to ask questions and see what areas of quality are already showing up in your program. Sometimes you might realize that you're offering certain aspects in the records review, but simply just don't have policies that are reflected in your handbook. Going over the records review tool with your coach can help you make an informed decision about going through the process. The next tip I would say is to set some goals. You can complete this task one piece at a time. After completing an overview with your coach and identifying what you are already doing, set some goals for completing this over time. Because you have time to complete this element of Early Achievers, you can work on it piece by piece with the support of a coach. As you work on this over time, you might find yourself rewriting policies, adding in policies to your handbook, as well as gathering evidence. Certain elements will require specific timeframes that are important to take note of, so it's best to create a plan of sorts early on if going through the records review is something that you'd like to opt into. The next tip is to use the records review tool to set some long-term goals for your program. The records review tool is made up of areas that we know to be what supports a quality early learning experience for children. The tool itself provides a structure that can truly support you with continuous quality improvement. Use this tool to set some goals that align to your own continuous quality improvement over time. Your coach can support you in finding the resources needed to support your own goals, including training opportunities as well as teaching practices. And then the last tip I have is to use the Records Review Tool Guide. The Records Review Tool comes with a guide that details everything you need to opt into when you're that details everything you need to opt into what you are offering in your program. It can help you identify some of the language needed in your parent handbook, and it allows you to opt into the areas you are currently offering in your program, as well as to opt out of the areas you are not. Use this guide to answer any questions you may have as you begin your records review journey regarding what each area requires, and how to implement it into your program. This guide is available to everyone in the Coaching Companion website in the resources section.
Thank you, Christina. So next, we're going to talk about the first step in the records review, which will be screenings. All right, so my strategy number one is to select the appropriate tool. Point earning criteria, it is essential that your policy identifies a valid and reliable developmental screening tool. So like Teaching Strategies Gold, ASQ, and SWYC, those the last two are free tools that you can use that you have access to. A lot of times we talk about the CDC milestones, and although they are helpful for monitoring, the CDC checklist alone typically do not fulfill the requirement for a valid and reliable screening tool to earn full points. So the ASQ3, they have free access to that right now, and as well as the SWYC, and I'll give you a sample of that on the next page. And also to make sure that there's a language accessibility. Your policy should be clearly outlining how you plan to conduct screenings for children in their home language if it's different from yours. All right, so I just want to let you see the survey of well-being of young children, and this is a sample copy of what it looks like and how you would do your screening within the first 45 days of the child arriving. This particular screening tool is for 6 months and 6 to 8 months. They have various screening forms for each age group that you can go on the website, and you'll be able to download that and utilize that for your center. And it's just looking at the simple skills that the children do throughout the day, and you're able to screen the child and if they have that ability, if they don't, and it helps you to know um, how you can support that child and that family. And then when you're reporting to the family, you'll have data to show for that. So next is the screenings. Master the timeline. So there's a 45-day rule. To comply with the standards, initial screenings must be finalized within the 45-day calendars from the child's first day of attendance. And there's also an annual rescreening. Points are also granted for policies that mandate annual rescreening for each child. And then tracking tip, maintain a screening log to verify that no child surpasses the 45-day limit, particularly for those enrolling mid-year. So you can have a certain days throughout the year that you have screenings, but make sure that you have a chart so that you can keep tabs on who has it and who hasn't yet. And if there are new children that come in, you have to give them a timeline from once they start at your program to within the 45 days of they'll be screened. And then the next strategy is documentation and family sharing. Sharing the results to accumulate points for screening two, your policy should specify how results are communicated to all families. It needs to be equitable communication. It's essential to have a procedure for sharing results in the family's preferred language. So if you have translators or any a family member that can come to support them, or there's any type of tools or services that you can use to accommodate the family, they would like to see that in the policy. And then the evidence on file. Ensure that completed screenings are physically or digitally stored in each child's file for easy verification by the reviewer. So next, I want to show what a sample policy would look like. So it would have your program's name is dedicated to ensuring that every child from birth until they enter kindergarten undergoes screening with your screening choice that you choose to identify potential developmental needs at any early stage. Initial screenings are performed within 45 calendar days of a child's first attendance. Additionally, follow-up rescreenings are conducted annually for all children who have been part of the program for 90 days or more. So those are very explicit about what you're doing and when you're doing it and who is doing it. The last part is about how do you share it. We are committed to fostering equitable family partnerships by striving to conduct all screenings in the child's home language whenever feasible. The results of these screenings are shared confidentially with families in their preferred language to promote clear understanding and collaborative goal setting. If challenging behaviors or developmental concerns continue, our staff will collaborate with families to develop a behavior support plan. They may also reach out to a mental health consultant or coach for further professional guidance. So, this is the high quality policy that they're looking for inside of your policy that covers all those grounds that we just discussed in regards to screenings.
Thank you, Nadir. Hi, everyone. I'm here to talk about what is ongoing assessment. So, ongoing assessment is really about getting to know your children deeply and on purpose. It means we're not just doing the same activities with every child and hoping that it works out. We are actually paying attention to what children can do, what they are interested in, and what skills they're starting to develop over time. This reflects high quality because high quality programs are intentional. When you're regularly observing and documenting children's learning, you're making thoughtful decisions instead of guessing what to teach next. Uh, that is one of the biggest signs of quality early learning program. In early achievers, this matters because child outcomes are a major part of quality. When we observe children during play routines and learning activities, we can plan experiences that are meaningful and developmentally appropriate instead of just following a theme or a calendar or doing activities because we've always done them. Ongoing assessment also reflects quality because it supports individualization. Instead of treating all the children the same, we adjust activities and we teach strategies based on each child's need, learning level, language development, and interest. That's exactly what early achievers means when they talk about responsive, high quality practice. It's also helps us notice early signs of delays or areas where children may need extra support, including dual language learners or children with special needs. Catching those things early is a huge part of supporting positive child outcomes. And finally, this information helps us communicate clearly with families. So instead of saying your child is doing fine, we can say your child is working on recognizing letters, using longer sentences, and learning how to take turns with friends. That level of detail shows families that learning is happening on purpose. So when we talk about assessment, we're not talking about testing children. We're talking about being intentional, responsive, and reflective teachers. And that's what quality looks like. Next slide, please. What early achiever looks for with ongoing assessment. So, for the records review, early achiever is not just checking whether you say you assess children, they're checking whether you can clearly explain and show how you actually do it in the program. According to the records review process, providers must go into childhood outcomes tab, review each criteria, and opt in or out of the criteria. They also expect providers to use additional information box in the criteria to explain their rear practices. So basically, they want to see that you observe children doing routines, play, and activities, use some type of tool or method or like an anecdotal note, portfolio screening tools, and you reflect on what you see. And you use that information to plan those lessons and to support development. Um, Early Achievers expects programs to use comprehensive allied curriculum or to complete a curricular alignment tool. These curricular align to Washington State Early Learning and Development Guidelines, and they cover multiple domains like literacy, math, and social emotional development. Um, so high quality programs, they just don't follow a curriculum book page by page. They use the ongoing assessment to guide their curriculum. So for example, if children are struggling with language, fine motor skills, or social skills, a high quality program would adjust the activities to within the curriculum to support those needs. So, um, what Early Achievers is really looking for is what curriculum do you use, how do you observe the children, and how do you adjust teaching based on what you see. That combination, curriculum, assessment, and reflection, or if you've done high scope like plan, do, review, is one of the strongest indicators of high quality in early learning programs. Next slide, please. This slide is about scoring your full points for ongoing assessment in the records review tool. Um, this kind of usually makes the difference between getting partial points and getting full points. So after you opt in to, sorry. First, you must opt into ongoing assessment criteria. After you've done that, and you say, yes, I'm intentionally supporting child development. Second, you must use like additional information box in detail, what tools you use, the method you use, when the observation happens, who completes them, and how the information is used to plan lessons and individualize instructions. Um, the record review guide is very clear, and this box explains your practices and how each criteria is actually being met. Third, you must upload supporting documents. The guide requires providers to upload evidence that verify all the required documentation has been included before submitting. If it's not written in the additional information box and it is not uploaded as evidence, you cannot be scored, even if you really do it in real life. So please make sure you're documenting everything. So early achievers ongoing assessment is not just about compliance, it's about showing it through documentation and reflection that your program is intentional, responsive, aligned to curriculum, focused on childhood outcomes, and continuously improving. Thank you.
All right, now we're going to talk about curriculum, why it's important. A curriculum is important because it allows you to ensure children are given ample opportunities to engage in activities that meet their developmental and learning needs in all areas of growth. Having a well thought out curriculum that is intentional allows you to meet each child where they are, where they're at, and allows for differentiation of instruction for each and every child. Next slide, please. So we're going to look at the first standard that you can opt into. So this one is curriculum used in each classroom and age group aligns with the WAT early learning guidelines or is on the list of aligned curricula. So if the program uses an aligned curriculum, evidence must be present for all age groups. The evidence provided can be curriculum materials, a policy of curriculum use and training, or evidence of training for at least one lead teaching staff per learning environment and/or session. The curriculum must apply to all age groups in every program. That means infant, toddler, and preschool. Multiple curricula can be used to cover the ranges of ages as well. If the program does not use the aligned curriculum, the curricular alignment tool, or the CAT, will be used as evidence. The curricular alignment tool must be completed for each age group served. This would be for curriculums that do not show up on the list of aligned curriculums, such as using an emergent curriculum. Essentially, you would need to demonstrate how the curriculum you use aligns with Washington State Early Learning Guidelines through filling out the curricular alignment tool. This document can be found in Coaching Companion and is something that you can get support with from your coach. In order to earn these points, all sections of the curricular alignment tool must be completed. I think we're not quite there yet. Can we go back one slide? Thank you. If a different curriculum is used for each age group of learning or environment in session, a separate curricular alignment tool must be completed for each curriculum. If there are multiple curriculums used, such as a supplemental one for social, emotional, or a different one for math, only the main curriculum needs to be aligned. Next slide. So for the second standard in curriculum two, at least one lead teacher or FCC lead teacher per classroom is trained in the program curriculum. So if there's a training specific to the curriculum used by the program, at least one lead teaching staff per environment or per classroom must meet the training requirements of that curriculum. If an FCC participant has multiple learning environments or sessions, then the lead teaching staff for each learning environment or session is required to complete the curriculum training requirements for the children's age group. If no formal training is required or accessible for the curriculum being used, and this would be any of the curriculums not in the aligned curricula list, then at least one lead teaching staff per learning environment must provide documentation of at least 4 hours of training on curriculum development. If an FCC participant has multiple learning environments or sessions and no formal training is required or accessible for that curriculum being used, then the lead teaching staff for each learning environment or session is required to complete at least 4 hours of training on curriculum development. Training must be on curriculum. If the title of the training is not clearly related to curriculum development, additional documentation such as learning objectives may be needed. If supplemental curriculum is used, lead teaching staff need to show documentation of being trained on the main curriculum. The recommended practice is to complete training on all curricula used, but to meet the criteria, only training on the main curriculum used is required. Quality recognition specialists review lead teaching staff training to verify documentation. And then they will review lead teaching staff training and merit. If the training is not in merit, you can upload your certificate instead.
All right, next we are going to dive into looking at instructional leadership. And this portion is only worth 3 points, but it's still very important. And just like we expect out of kids to continually to improve and to always learn, the same is expected with teachers as well. Quality improvement is a continuous process. So with instructional leadership, this is important because it allows teachers to continue to always look into learning more, into adapting new strategies and gaining new information and different ways to approach learning. So instructional leadership is relationship-based professional development that happens internally within the program. It is strength-based, it's focused on the learner, and is informed by data. This practice is culturally responsive and it's grounded in the pursuit of equity. It's measured by improvement in teaching practice and in child family outcomes, and it fosters a culture of reflective practice that builds on self-awareness and to increase knowledge and to apply skills. Now, why is it important? Instructional leadership helps teachers with the teacher-child interaction and curriculum alignment. It also shows teachers how to access systems, how to support to use data for improving their program. Early learning professionals who receive job-embedded ongoing support and daily teaching are more likely to set up the environment so it focuses on the children's learning. They're also more likely to use a child-centered curriculum, address the needs of individual children, and to have stronger partnerships with families. And one of the most important questions that are often asked is, who are the instructional leaders? Who's qualified to be an instructional leader? So by definition, the instructional leaders are influential leaders of various roles and are responsible for the quality of teaching and learning at the site level in early childhood settings. They directly support teachers in their daily work and ongoing improvement. Instructional leaders can vary, and these are some of the examples that they provided for us. Center directors, assistant directors, program supervisors, family and home licensee, education coordinator, a curriculum coordinator, mentor teachers, or other administrators. This past year, I was able to deliver a training to one of my providers, and I believe that we qualified under mentor teachers as one of those job embedded professional development days. So for the first standard, standard one, to earn your 1 point, this is what they ask of. you guys. Early learning program leaders provide annual job-embedded professional development for lead teaching staff to improve curriculum and teacher-child interactions. Meaning, if you provide one a year, then you're eligible to earn this 1 point. So job-embedded professional development strategies must be based on day-to-day teaching practices. The teachers must access and find solutions as part of a constant improvement process. This training may occur shortly before, during, or after the practice takes place. Job-embedded professional development can include mentoring, one-on-one support, in-service trainings with follow-up support action, peer learning communities, or feedback from observation. And for FCCs that don't have the same capabilities as a center, this is how they can earn their points. So family child care licensees who do not supervise staff may partner with other early learning professionals in their area for JEPD, and this can include peer-led group of FCC providers or peer-led communities of practice. For standard two, it's very similar, but early learning program leaders provide job-embedded professional development for lead teaching staff at least 3 times a year. So if you provide one a year and you're able to provide evidence and documentation for that, you get the first point. If you're able to provide three a year and you're able to provide documentation and evidence for that, and you're able to earn the second point. So it says on-site early learning program leaders provide job-embedded professional development for at least one lead teaching staff member per classroom at least 3 times per year. So if you have a couple classrooms or a few classrooms, each one of those lead teachers must receive this training at least 3 times a year. And documentation must show either through the sign-up sheets or through email communication that those teachers were there and present for those trainings that were offered. The lead teaching staff team can combine to meet the requirements for this standard, which is 3 instances of job-embedded professional development per learning environment sessions in the last 12 months. For example, if there are co-lead teachers in learning environment sessions, one lead teaching staff can have evidence for 2 instances, and the other lead teaching staff can have evidence for another one. So in those classes, you guys can discuss how you guys want to do it. As long as it adds up to the 3 total, then it qualifies and you're able to earn the points for this standard. For standard three, what they ask of you guys is instead of just one or three a year, it will be provided monthly. So if you're able to provide one for each month and the lead teachers are receiving the training, you guys have the evidence and documentation to show for it, then we will receive the point for the very last standard. So it says on-site learning program leaders provide monthly job-embedded professional development for at least one lead teacher per classroom to improve curriculum and teacher-child interactions. The date of hire as a lead teacher is considered. For example, if the early learning professional has been employed for 6 months, then at least 4 monthly examples of mentoring would be required. It was also said in the guidelines that you're able to miss up to a maximum of 3. So if that teacher has been there for 12 months, you only have 9 months of training for them, that qualifies that teacher for that. And it's like the example shown in here. If that teacher has been there for 6 months, they need up to 4 monthly examples of mentoring to be required. How to document and examples of evidence that you can provide when you upload in your handbook. So in the parent handbook, make sure that there's a section in your handbook that specifically explains what type of job embedded trainings you and your staff receive, how often this training is delivered, and what teachers will learn from it. The documents that you can upload as evidence, examples can be a sign-in sheet for that job embedded professional development day, a flyer that was sent out by the instructor, an invite either through email communication or any form of physical communication that you can show, and any worksheets or items received from that training you can also upload as evidence as well. It's important that these items are dated, and that it falls within the last 12-month calendar of when you submit your records review, and it also indicates that when the training took place, and has the names of the teachers, specifically the lead teachers that are on there, to show that they were present there for the day of the training.
Leela, you're muted.
Can you hear me now? Okay. Thank you, C. I'm gonna cover prevention and expulsion. Okay, so suspension and expulsion in early learning means a child is removed from the program and are told they cannot come back. This usually happens due to challenging behaviors or developmental needs. This can be really stressful and harmful for the child and their family, especially because families have to find new childcare quickly. Research shows that when a child is expelled or suspended early, it could impact their success later in school and increase long-term risks in academic failure. That's why programs should focus on supportive behaviors, guidance, staff training, and partnerships with families so that the child can succeed instead of removing them. Next slide, please. So, to prevent suspension and expulsion, the program should have supportive behavior guidance policies in place. This means staff should respond to challenging behaviors with strategies that teach and support the child instead of removing them. If the program is truly not equipped to meet the child's needs, the goal should be to still support the family. Programs should help caregivers through respectful transition processes and connect them to another setting that can better support the child. Okay, so the records review standard states a policy supports children through challenging behaviors and developmental needs through families or through family partnership, staffing, and consultation. This is 1 point. So in order to receive the point, the program must have formal written policy that supports children with challenging behaviors and developmental needs. Sorry. This policy should explain how the program partners with families, provides staff training, and uses consultation when needed. The policy must be written in something like a staff, or the policy must be written in something like a staff or family handbook and must be easy for families and staff to access. It also needs to clearly describe how staff and families work together to create and follow behavioral support plan when challenging behaviors continue. This support should be provided to all children before asking a child to leave the program. So immediate expulsion policy or short trial periods would not meet this requirement. The second standard for preventing suspension and expulsion. The staff has annual training to support positive social and emotional development, reducing challenging behaviors for trauma-informed care. So to earn this point, the program must have a formal written policy that explains staff must receive annual training. This training should be focused on supporting children's positive social and emotional development, reducing challenging behaviors, and using trauma-informed care practices. The evidence must be written in an accessible place like the program handbook, or the staff and family handbook, so both staff and families can easily find it. The policy must clearly describe the procedure for how the annual training happens each year.
I think that she was on the second and we have to go back one slide, right, Kalita?
Yeah, I don't think I did the third one yet. Oh, let me go back to my notes.
Is it this one, Kalita?
No, this one has the first and the second, so the third one I'll go over it now.
Okay.
Okay, so the standard for the third one says the staff and consult, or that the staff can consult with mental health consultants, coach, or professional for behavior development concerns. This is also 1 point. So to earn this point, the written policy must include a plan to contact a mental health consultant, coach, or other professional when behavioral or development concerns arise. They should also show that the program supports systems for staff, teachers are not handling the concerns alone.
All right. C, can you follow along with me because I'm going to read from Cheryl's slides or her notes, and I don't know which slides are which. So we're going to focus now on strengthening and supporting families. What it is, the Strengthening Families approach is a framework based on enhancing families and caregivers' protective factors, building upon existing family or caregiver strengths, and promoting positive child development and outcomes. And why is this important? Families and caregivers are a child's first and most important teachers, and they are more likely to thrive when their families or caregivers have the support that they need. By using the Strengthening Families or equivalent framework, early learning professionals can engage, support, and partner with families to achieve the best outcomes. So the recommended practice is that family or caregiver involvement is critical to children's positive early learning experiences. Thoughtful planning is a key part of successful relationships between programs and families and caregivers. Family or caregiver engagement activities must be included in a program's practice to help children be healthy and ready for school. To begin working on strengthening and supporting families, you will begin by identifying areas of possible growth using the results of the Strengthening Families self-assessment. The goal you choose is recorded on the Family Engagement Action Plan, which can be found in Coaching Companion or CC. So now we're going to look at the first Strengthening Families part that you can opt into, which is worth 2 points. Once you identify your goal that you would like to work on and the action steps needed to achieve this goal, you will record them on the first page of the Family Engagement Action Plan. The action plan must be dated within 12 months of when you submit your records review for evaluation. This date is very important. If it is outside of the 12-month period, you will not receive the points. Strengthening Families number 2. This one is worth 2 points. The second page of the Family Engagement Action Plan is to document the dated progress towards the goal. These can be copies of emails to families, flyers for an upcoming event, or any evidence that you might have to support that. For Strengthening Families number 3, this is worth 2 points. This would be the last page of the Family Engagement Action Plan, and that is to document the completion and reflection of the goal. You will reflect on what went well, what changes did you encounter, what was the goal met, and if not, why, and you can also decide if you want to continue this goal or create a new goal. Some important things to know about the Strengthening Families are the goals and actions must be specific to each site or location. If you are a corporate site or have more than one location, you may not use the same action plan for each site. Creation date for the goal and action plan that is documented on the first page must be within the 12 months of when you submit the records review for evaluation. If it is outside that 12 months, you will lose all 6 points. And also the points for strengthening families are dependent upon another. If you do not meet number one or lose number two and you will lose number two and number three. If you need help with creating a goal or completing the action plan, please reach out to your coach.
All right. So the next one we're going to talk about is transitions. So transitions are important. As we all want children to be successful moving from setting to setting. And these transitions account for when children move into your care in the beginning, throughout the program, if they're moving to a different classroom or environment. And again, the transition from out of your program to either another program or kindergarten. All of these types of transitions, and the transitions that occur throughout the day are often very difficult and stressful for children. So, ensuring that these occur with the least amount of stress and opportunity for learning and success is crucial to having a high quality program. The transition policies you include in your handbook will be reassuring to families. It will be a map for staff, and it will provide important information for the next caregiver or teacher. So, things to include in your policies. So, you want to talk about how you will support children entering your program. Do you have a meeting with the family beforehand? Do you have enrollment paperwork that asks specific questions about the child's likes, dislikes, perhaps if they have some needs that you need to be aware of? Really getting as much information from the families as possible. Do you allow time for the children and the families to come visit a classroom for an hour or a couple hours or a couple days a week before they really start on their own? Think about what you do and maybe what you could do, and include that in your family handbook. The next thing to include in your policies are how will you support children moving from one classroom environment or session within the program, if that is applicable. Is it done over a week's amount of time? Is this done over a month amount of time? Do you do it throughout the year, or do you save these for once or twice a year? Being very specific is very helpful. Uh, are there, does the former teacher write a note of tips and tricks for the child to pass on to the new teacher? Any of those types of things that will really help the child be successful in the new environment, will help with the quality. And lastly, how will you support children and families transitioning off to kindergarten? Uh, Especially for those families whose this is their first child and have not dealt with the school system before, it may be very helpful if you host a kindergarten information night. You may have some information about the local kindergarten programs at the schools near you, um, some information about what their welcoming and orientation dates and times and programs might look like. Do you or your teachers write up something for the kindergarten teacher to get to know that child and what their strengths are? Um, think about those types of things and how you can help manage that, be smooth and successful for both the children and the families. And this is especially important if the child does have diagnosed special needs and will need some more support, and so that the kindergarten and the school is aware of this and they can hit the ground running in support of that child. So all of these different policies that need to be included need to be specific and detailed. Your coach can help you with adding or editing some of these in your handbook to meet those specific requirements. And remember, this, as well as many of the other ones we've just talked about, have to be in practice for at least a year to get the points. And then the last piece of information that we have just wanted to show you a visual that for the records review, having evidence that you do all of these different things we just talked about, they either need to be within your handbook policies or uploaded into CC as pieces of evidence. So for the handbook policies, screenings 1 and 2, ongoing assessment 1, 2, 4, 6, individualization 1, preventing suspension and expulsion 1, 2, 3, and the 2 transitions. And then you will need to upload additional evidence outside of your program policies and handbooks for ongoing assessments 3 and 5, which are the alignment tools, curriculum 1 and 2, instructional leadership 1, 2, and 3, and then strengthening families 1, 2, and 3. And this is a helpful page to bookmark so you know what type of evidence is needed for each area.
Thank you for spending your time with us today. We hope this information was helpful for you all. Please do reach out to your coach for any further questions, and we wish you the best of luck with your records review.